I'm Ekta Markulier, Executive Director of the Pikes Peak Small Business Development Center.
And I'm Jonathan Lieber, CEO of the Better Business Bureau of Southern Colorado. And welcome to Business Week 2020. Thanks for joining us this week, and thank you to our presenting sponsor again this year, U.S. Bank.
So this week we've gone virtual, and we kicked it off with the License to Eat, a food truck guide. So you can eat great food throughout this entire week as we celebrate small business.
And you'll also hear from subject matter experts in the region talking to you about some of the things your business should consider in these strange and trying times. You'll learn about what you should be doing from a marketing perspective. You'll hear about how you can take care of yourself and your employees, as well as we'll take you behind the scenes on some new businesses that are opening up, like 3 East Comedy Club and our very own Olympic and Paralympic Museum.
As you're leading small business organizations, the Better Business Bureau and the Pikes Peak SBDC will be bringing you the award celebration at the end of this week, where we'll be awarding the top 5 businesses in the areas of Small Business Champion of the Year, Small Business Person of the Year, Veteran-Owned Small Business of the Year, Young Entrepreneur of the Year, and Family-Owned Small Business of the Year.
We've got some great finalists this year. You're not going to want to miss it. And thank you to everybody for supporting small businesses in your Pikes Peak region.
This is Small Business Week 2020, Resilience, Recovery, and Results.
Welcome to Small Business Week 2020. I'm Jim Harris, U.S. Bank's Community Bank President and Commercial Team Leader for Colorado and Southeast Wyoming. Our friends at the Pikes Peak Small Business Development Center and Better Business Bureau of Southern Colorado co-host Pikes Peak Region Small Business Week, which remains the largest Small Business Week celebration in the state of Colorado and one of the largest in the nation. U.S. Bank has been the presenting sponsor for Small Business Week for nearly a decade, and we're pleased to return again this year. We know this has been a tough year for so many of our small businesses, which is why we've partnered with our fellow sponsors to make this year's event free. Small businesses are the backbone of our community, and we want you to know we're here to help. We encourage you to join us for office hours with your bankers this week to learn more about how we and other banks are partnering with the Small Business Administration to help businesses. Now we invite you to enjoy the free daily workshops, License to Eat food truck guide, and award celebration, all supporting and honoring the best of small businesses in Southern Colorado.
Springs community, and to help you through all those hard times that inevitably
get closer to the mic so we can hear you better.
But we are here today in one of my favorite weeks of the year. This is my 4th week of Small Business Week that I've got to partner with the SBDC and the Better Business Bureau to bring you a unique presentation here, a little bit of a different perspective and a different shtick to our normal routine of 1 million cups. And for any of you that are out there that are interested in joining us, we meet here at 3 East Comedy Club, 1 South Nevada, every Wednesday morning at 9 a.m. And we start 9 o'clock sharp. We have 2 business presenters and networking before and after. So look forward to seeing you guys in the weeks that follow. But for today, in addition to thanking Eric, and you'll be up here to talk about 3 East here in a little bit. I also want to thank our coffee sponsor. I know you guys are out there virtually this week, and hopefully you've got a nice cup of coffee to go with everything. But Rihanna Horner and HR Branches is our coffee sponsor for the month to make sure we keep everybody caffeinated while we're talking business.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you, 1 Million Cups community. HR Branches is here as a customized turnkey system to help you reduce one of your greatest risks as a small business owners. That is your people. And in addition, I am also an organizer for 1 Million Cups, and I wanted to let you guys know, as a presenter here at 1 Million Cups, we have a lovely cup. So the folks who will be presenting today will be gifted this beautiful cup. Thank you so much. And I have the pleasure of introducing Brandon Jones, COO of Catalyst Campus. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for the introduction. I am Brandon Jones, the Chief Operating Officer at Catalyst Campus for Technology and Innovation, headquartered here right in Colorado Springs. I wanted to take a couple of minutes to let you guys know what our mission is about. We are a 501c3 nonprofit company headquartered here, and we've created a collaborative ecosystem to bring small, agile, non-traditional companies, businesses, to incubate, have collision of ideas with the Department of Defense to spark innovation and stimulate business growth, and hopefully to develop capabilities that support our warfighters. And so we have a really neat thing going over there at Catalyst Campus. And so I just want to offer an open invitation. If you guys are ever in the area, we're right off Pikes Peak Avenue, please come down and find me. And I'd be more than happy to give you guys a tour and let you guys know what we do. It's really neat to see it firsthand. I also want to make one other mention, as this is a small business event. Later this fall, we are running what we call an accelerator cohort program. It is a 3-month semi-residential program where we go and find, in partnership with Air Force Research Lab, we go and find small businesses that have really unique dual-use technologies, both in the commercial industry, but also could apply in the Department of Defense industry. And that's where DoD actually needs some work, is to go find those small businesses that have really good ideas and bring them in to collaborate, innovate, and hopefully develop great capabilities for the warfighter. And so this fall, the topic that we're focusing on with AFRL is called Cyber for Space Applications. And so if any businesses out there think you have technologies or ideas in that realm, please either come find me at Catalyst Campus, or you can go onto the internet and Google search Catalyst Space Accelerator, and you'll find the Catalyst Accelerator website, and you can actually register and apply with your idea, and then you could be a part of the rack and stack process review, and hopefully you'll be accepted as one of the 8 companies to go through that program. And it's a really neat thing that we have going there. So with that said, again, I just want to say thank you for allowing me to be here and speak today. And with that, I'll pass it back over to Ed. Thank you very much.
All right, good morning, everyone. My name is Ekta Markulier, Executive Director of the Pikes Peak Small Business Development Center. Welcome to Small Business Week in the Pikes Peak region 2020. This year, as you can tell, we've gone virtual, educating and celebrating small business with workshops and with our award celebration this Friday. I would like to thank our presenting sponsors, U.S. Bank, corporate sponsors, the Colorado Springs Chamber and EDC, and Kaiser Permanente, and our media sponsors for the week, the Colorado Springs Business Journal and KRDO News Channel 13. Today is day 3, can you believe it, of Small Business Week in the Pikes Peak region. Our event today is called Stress and Burnout in Turbulent Times. Our very deepest thanks to today's sponsors, Kaiser Permanente, 1 Million Cups and Catalyst Campus, and of course 3E's Comedy Club to be our host for today's event. Then at 1 p.m., so we're not done yet for day 3, at 1 p.m. we have another event that we're hosting with our presenting sponsor, U.S. Bank, for office hours with the banker. We want you to come ready with your questions on the PPP loan, Main Street programs, and other SBA initiatives that are currently in effect to help small businesses during the pandemic. If you haven't registered yet, please register on the pikespeaksbdc.org website, or find us on Facebook at Small Business Week, Pikes Peak Region, and you can register and click in from there. Then tomorrow, which is day 4 of Small Business Week, we want you to join us for a really important conversation on how consumers can support minority-owned small businesses in our region. And in addition, how can you as a minority-owned business grow your business? We have an amazing panel of experts, and that event will be from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. To keep track of everything we have going on, go to pikespeaksbdc.org/SBW, search us out on Google. You'll be able to find the full list of events. And from now, and now what I would like to do is I'm really excited to start our live stream today from 3 East Comedy Club. We even have a comedian in store for you. And Jonathan Lieber, my co-host, co-collaborator, and all of this, CEO of the Better Business Bureau, is there live from 3 East Comedy Club. So here's to you, Jonathan.
All right, well, thank you, Ekta. I'm sorry you couldn't be up here on this fantastic stage with me. We are going to have some great stuff for you today. As Ekta mentioned, we have this morning. We have something else at 1 o'clock. It's going to be a phenomenal day here on day 3 of Small Business Week. I can't believe it's already day 3. It's going by fast. But we're here live. We're here in 3 East Comedy Club. This is a fantastic venue, and you're going to get to hear from the owner, Eric Phillips, here in a moment. And we also, as Ekta mentioned, have a surprise for you, a good treat. We have a great comedian. I'm not going to take any of the thunder. That's all for Eric. But we're here today to talk about really what's kind of going on, the stress and turbulent times, and how you can make sure that you're taking care of yourself, you're taking care of your employees, that you're just making sure that you pay attention to wellness right now. And I think most of us can probably understand. The other thing that we wanted to do today is that, you know what, sometimes laughter is the best medicine, right? So that's why we wanted to have this at a comedy club. So the comedy club is going to open up here in September. Eric's going to tell you a little bit more about that, but this is just a great venue. And so I've been able to come here a couple times. I'm taking a look at this great space right now. It looks absolutely fabulous. So again, we're super excited to have this venue here in Colorado Springs. We're excited to have Eric and some of the great things, some of the great shows, some of the great acts that he's already booked. He's going to tell you some more about that. So Eric, why don't you come on up here and we'll hear from you. And we're happy to be here at the 3 East Comedy Club. And I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Eric Phillips. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Eric Phillips, the owner of 3 East Comedy Club. Welcome. 3 East Comedy Club is Colorado Springs' premier comedy club. This is Colorado Springs Comedy Club. Yes, we like Denver. They can come down. But this is Colorado Springs Comedy. We're going to do some great things here, represent the city. When people come into Colorado Springs, they're going to leave with a good feeling about Colorado Springs. We're going to have comedians from across the nation. We're going to do louder. What's that? Louder. Oh, louder? Is that loud? Good. Okay. We're going to do open mic nights. We're going to have poetry here. We're going to do. You'll be able to have business meetings here, parties. There's two sides to this club. This side, the side that we're on in right now, is called Heckler's Cafe. The other side is 3 East Comedy Club. So this is going to be a great location for the city and for people that's coming into Colorado Springs just to visit our beautiful city. We're going to have some fun today. We have a great comedian lined up for you. I'm not a comedian. Yes, I do own the club, but I've never been a comedian, so I'm not telling any jokes. So I'm going to introduce him and let him take this away. But we're at 1 South Nevada. I think we're the only comedy club in the nation that's in a bank. So come check us out. We're opening up in September. Guarantee you'll enjoy it. So I'm going to introduce a friend of mine. We became good friends over the past month or two. He's been featured in Just for Laughs Festival in Montreal, Kevin Hart Network. He should be up there with the big boys, and we're gonna work so we can get him up there. His name is Ryan Evans.
All right.
All right, it's me. I made it. I'm shorter than I thought. I bet. Do me a favor, everybody. I know everybody's got. It's like a silent comedy show. Hold on, just for a second, if you can. Just for a second, because I don't see faces. All I see is eyes of surprise. So it's great to. Yeah, there we go. Make it happen and make the dream. Glad to see everybody. I'm glad to be out of the house. Anybody else? Let it out for real. Anybody else glad to be out of the house? Make some noise. Yes. I don't know about you guys, but I've been learning new things in the house on accident. I fixed the garbage disposal. Anybody else do this? Hard task for someone who doesn't fix anything in the house. Very hard. I YouTube what to do, and YouTube walked me right through it. But I found out that this was a setup. My girl has been working on me in this little 2 months time we've been out. I fixed the garbage disposal, and she was like, "That's great. Now you can fix all the other stuff that's wrong in the house." You know, I was like, "Oh, this is a setup the whole time." That's why I was a sock left in the garbage disposal. You've been working me since the beginning. You know, since the lockdown, things have been changing. And I'm not talking about like the country lockdown. For me, I'm talking about sports. So since sports has been gone, I've been having to watch just what she watches. So I'm watching The Bachelor, HGTV, and stuff like that. Like, that's what it was that got us to start fixing stuff in the house, is HGTV. This network is not for everybody. It's not. It makes you think you can do it because they're doing all this drilling with the smile. And you're like, yeah, I can do that. I got a drill. I got a commercial break or two. I can squeeze in a wall repair or something. And you can't do it. You cannot. I've tried. And here's the thing. I'm an entertainer. I don't have the time it takes to continue and finish a project. I've started several. I tried to put recessed lighting in the dining room, but I just have 4 holes now. That's it. So, you know, you make the best out of it. I put the Last Supper picture right over there, so it's no more holes. And we don't bow when we pray. We look up now when we pray. It changes it up, but it's fun for us. You know, you just, like for me, I'm not that guy. I don't do the repairs. I don't build things. And she just added them on. Like, I got a bidet now. Is that how you say it, bidet? I have one of those, and I would have never, ever thought, I don't even know where you go to look up where to get one of those at. I would have never thought of this contraption. You know, she's like, it'll make it quicker and easier in the bathroom. I'm like, that's in a diet, okay? We don't need a bidet or whatever it is, you know? And I knew when I was putting it in, I was never gonna use it. My body was shutting down as I was putting it in. Like, I'm not gonna sit down on this because I'm gonna get curious. That's what's gonna happen. You start messing with those little dials. And if you don't know what they do, you should read the book. You really should. Because I don't know where they make these at. I don't even know I don't know what country, but I feel like bidet is like another language for cold water. So as a man, you don't see it coming. Day 4, after I put it in, I'm like, I can't hold it any longer. And I went to the bathroom and I sat down and I took care of what I need to take care of. And now there's the time. Here we are. We're here now. And I looked at the dials and I don't do this. Don't just turn it on. Don't do that, okay? Because they have dials for men and women, settings for men and women. And I just turned it on and my girl comes skipping out before I went in. So it was obviously set for women. And I missed. Can I say it like that? Is that okay? I missed, and the water, like I'm on the toilet, and the water shot out and hit the wall. Well, I have another hole in the bathroom from another project. So I put a Beverly Hills Cop poster right in front of the hole. It's a big hole, it's like a Shawshank hole in my bathroom. So the water hit Eddie Murphy poster. Cold water. And this saves no time because I'm wet now. Now I'm wet and I gotta like shake dry. Can I do like, you know? And I'm wiping differently. I gotta use 2 hands now. I'm glad to be out. Like, you don't realize how long 2 months is until you're in the house for 2 months. You know, I don't know if this happens for everybody else, but you know, I got a dog, I walk with my dog in the midst of the 2 months. You get out and you get to see nature thriving without being messed with, without being touched. Flowers are blooming, the trees are a little greener, a little taller. You know, as spring was coming in. You know, I thought that was great just to watch, you know, nature come about without being disturbed. I thought that was something to really think about. And then I was like, but the I-25 is still in the condition it's in. Like, no one's disturbing them. It should have been done by now. That's all I'm saying. I hope people see that part. Just who's paving the road? Anyway, that was personal. I just drove here down that road. Let's see. I'm from Chicago originally. I live here in Colorado now, which is great. It's a beautiful place. People, I don't know if you know this has been voted one of the best places to live. Colorado has been voted that. And I looked that up before I got here. Being from Chicago, that was a good selling point because I'm from Chicago, best place to die. So coming here was definitely a plus for me. I'm learning new things and everything. I'm becoming acclimated. Everybody's outdoors doing some type of exercise. So I'm outdoors doing exercise. I'm a bike rider now. Anybody else? Yeah? I see you in the back. I feel like you're a real bike rider, right? Yeah? Like you're a cyclist. I'm not that far. I'm getting there, but I'm not that far. You don't realize how hard it is to just ride a bike until you're here in Colorado. And it's just like, for me, I'm just with sweats on. I got a little shirt, a little tank top, and I'm riding on a little bike path. And I'm waving at people like, I live here now, Chuck. How you doing? And like people ride for real. Like you wear the same uniform and everything, a onesie that everybody wears, and they have helmets and they pedal in unison like this, and they check their vital, pedal, check their vital. Like that's scary if you're not from here, if you've never seen that. That's some scary stuff. But I live here now. You're not gonna be riding by me with your little seats up, yelling at me. On your left, on your left. So I went and upgraded all my stuff. I got a big helmet now. I got a onesie. My onesie doesn't fit right, my sleeve always. This is the worst thing to do when you ride the bike, is to adjust your sleeve. So I'm coming around. You know what I'm not used to? The weather here. The weather here is very bizarre. Maybe not so much now in the summer, but you know what I'm talking about if you live here. It's nothing to really get used to. Because you guys, this is how you say it. It's going to change in 5 minutes. Whatever you want, it'll be something different. But look, it don't do that anywhere else on the planet. Can I say it like that? That's hard to get used to. Like the weather person in the morning doesn't even know what to say to you as you're leaving the house. That's how chaotic the weather is. He's gonna tell you got a 4-parter today. Come on in, it's gonna be a little thunderstorm and then some hail, okay? And then a snowstorm after that, and then a tornado. He'll turn back to you. And that's all he said. That's your weather. And to me, that's scary, but to Colorado, it's a regular day. Like, that's scary to me. Like, for me, I've never experienced hail until I got here. For those that don't know, hail is balls of ice falling from the sky for no reason. It's just balls of ice out of the sky. And that's scary to look out your blind to see people running through, going to work. Colorado is scary. You know what it is? It's not the weather. It's the fact that people act like it's not happening. That's what it is. It's the people who live here that you guys act like, oh, this is just regular, No, it's not. My first day, I was in a tornado scare. Now, I call it a scare because I seem to be the only person scared. Everybody else handled it like champions. Like, this is what we do, I was unpacking my clothes and the TV was doing an seek shelter thing. We've seen that for thunderstorms, so I didn't panic right away, but I did call a friend. I said, it's dark outside and the TV's tripping. What do I do? And she said, how dark? I looked out the window. I said, it looks like Harry Potter's coming up the street. He's real mad. He's real upset. And she said, with a calm voice, oh, this is it. This is the storm that's about to hit. You should really do something. Matter of fact, you should go get in the tub. That's what you should do. And I laughed. That was the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. Get in the tub. It's not bubble bath time. There's a windstorm coming this way. I don't see that in my mind. In my mind, all I can picture is being found 5 miles away, sitting in my tub full of my own mess. I'm not going to be found like this. This is not the end of my story. So I laughed, just like that. I laughed. I've never heard that in my life, get in the tub. But here in Colorado, if you don't know when it's really bad, they let out an air raid siren. It scares the life out of you if you've never heard it. It lets you know something's coming, but maybe not. It don't really tell you anything. It just goes, If you've never heard that, it leaps in your soul and you will do some pretty imaginative things. I heard that 2 seconds after, I am in the tub, me and my dog. I'm both in the tub spooning each other like a sad I Am Legend scene. They come out the movie or something. I don't know what to do. There are no pamphlets. Nobody consoles you, I got waters and baked beans in the tub with us, trying to be prepared. I don't know what to do. I put the futon mattress over both of us, and we sat there for 10 minutes spooning. My first day. And I looked at my dog, and I said, I didn't come here to be this type of guy. This is the guy I am in Chicago. We're going to change this up right now. I'm going to look the storm right in the face. I'm going to be brave. And my dog was like, you're going to look, come back, tell me what you see. And I wanted to see it. So I got out and crept around the corner, and I looked through the window, and it's gone. Like it didn't even happen. The sun is out, kids are skateboarding down the street. So it's not the weather, it's you guys. I feel like it's not happening. That's what it is. I think that's my time, but I do want to say this. Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to come in and bring some form of entertainment to your life. You don't have to sit there. Seek out laughter. Seek out love. My name is Ryan Evans. It's R-I-O-N. You can find me at ryanevans.com. Thank you very much. Have a great day. Keep laughing.
Ryan, that was awesome. Thank you, sir. Can we have a round of applause for Ryan? That was fantastic. That was fantastic. And I think, again, just a really good reminder that we all need to laugh some more. We need to have a little bit of fun. We're in these interesting times right now. And so sometimes you just need to kind of have a little bit of fun. So Ryan, appreciate that. Appreciate the levity. And we were excited to have you here. Next up, we're going to hear from Kaiser Permanente. And so Kaiser Permanente is the sponsor for today. And you're going to hear a little bit more about how you can make sure that you're taking care of yourself and your employees. And again, this is more important than ever in these interesting times. So I have the pleasure now of introducing our Kaiser Permanente speaker. His name is Mr. Tom Carter, and he is currently the Vice President of Kaiser Permanente's Workforce Health Consulting Group and Kaiser Permanente on the Job. He has been with Kaiser Permanente for more than 15 years, leading sales and advisory relations statewide. Prior to Kaiser Permanente, he spent 12 years at Lifeguard, which is a nonprofit regional health plan in San Jose, California. There, Tom was Vice President of Sales, Marketing, and Product Management. He also spent 3 years at U.S. Behavioral Health as Vice President of Sales and Marketing, where he focused on working with large commercial carriers and Fortune 500 companies. He spent 7 years at Blue Cross Northern of California. As you can see from his background, he clearly has just a really, really diverse and rich background in this industry. And obviously, this is why we asked Tom to speak today, because he has really some great expertise and some fantastic knowledge. So Tom, thank you so much for joining us. Tom is joining us live via Zoom from California. Amazing what you can do with technology. That's the plus of doing things this way in these weird times. But Tom is joining us from California. Tom, thank you for joining us today. We'll turn it over to you.
Great, thanks, Jonathan. Geez, with that intro, I guess the older you get, the better I was. Today, what we really want to do is focus a lot on just exactly what's going on in our communities right now. We talk about the main area of focus today was about burnout as it relates to the workforce, and when you put the stresses of COVID on top of that, it's been something that has significantly affected all of us in ways that I don't really have to. I think you all have experienced. We've gone from working in the office or working at home to now being therapists and gardeners and plumbers, and my dog loves it. I'm a veterinarian now, which he doesn't appreciate too much, but all of our roles have changed, and the stresses that are in the home as it relates to our kids and our working parents having to deal with both at the same time are really factors that we have to pay attention to. And that on top of the reality of chronic conditions and the health risks that are affecting our workers right now are also complicated when COVID gets entered into the picture. And so now more than ever, Kaiser Permanente has always been focused on population health, what drives risks in our communities, and how our customers, employers, and broker and business advisors can learn from what we've seen in population health approaches and the evidence that we've seen, and apply them in the workplace and apply them in communities and in our homes. So I'll walk through today a little bit of what we're seeing, some of those risk factors, and then hopefully along the way, tee up some of the actions you can take to try to take a step toward addressing these sort of risk factors going forward. That's my goal. If you haven't focused on health as a business strategy, more than just a benefit strategy, now's a great time to do that. And so we'll try to give you some ideas. So on the, we'll let the slide go to the next. Yeah, so I think I just covered our objectives here. So why don't we go to so this in my history, I've been in the marketplace way too long, as you can see by the way I color my hair. And I really did originate from the insurance world, and I learned a lot about the way we were presenting insurance products, back in the 80s and before, was, if you had a financial exposure due to an unfortunate condition that needed to be addressed in a hospital or surgery per se, it was the if then you had insurance to sort of avoid that financial impact. It became reality as we learned more that it's not about if, it's about when. So we all need to engage with our health and our healthcare systems. We need to stay on top of our risk factors. We need to manage if we have chronic conditions. We have to manage the diseases that we may be burdened with. And we have to sort of be engaged. And it's not just an insurance plan anymore. It's really understanding that health is a big driver. So managing your health is an important aspect of us personally, as well as how employers can help us be good stewards of our health when we're at work. And so as we look at the insurance and the benefit marketplace emerging, what I've noticed since I've been at Kaiser Permanente for the last 16 or so years is I noticed that, we are a care delivery system first that provides insurance. And so when I started to sort of study a little bit about what we've learned over the 75 years of being in business, it was thinking about population health as it related to our business. So our health plan was originated out of the need to protect our own workers when they were building ships in the 40s, and even infrastructure, things like dams and other things that Henry J. Kaiser embarked on early on. And so the actual focus on prevention and engagement in your health and chronic condition management and access, all the things that we're very passionate about now, all emerged out of a need to protect our own workers so that they could show up to work safe, healthy, and productive, and be contributing citizens. So we emerged out of the population health world and then became known as the health plan. So it's a very different migration over my years in the business, coming from the insurance world into the health plan versus the care delivery aspect coming into the insurance world. So we've learned a lot. So on the next page, as we look at a little bit of I mentioned some of the drivers before, but some of the realities here, that a lot of these may be very familiar to you, but there are a lot of trends as it relates to population health and specifically chronic conditions. And as I mentioned before, these chronic conditions now that are significant risk factors are, I believe, a significant portion of the hospitalizations that we see due to COVID right now have one or more chronic conditions. So not only have these health risks been something that we've been trying to focus on, and many of you have probably engaged in this in some fashion. These are the things now that are becoming even more riskier for those that are affected by these conditions. And now, if they get COVID, they end up in the hospital at a greater rate than those in average health or better health. So the other reality is in Colorado, overweight and obesity is at a low believe it or not, compared to across the country. California, I think, is over 61%. So you're a very active community, and so that's the good news, is that your environment and culture and sort of what works in Colorado are all very positive things that you can build on as it relates to managing the health of your workforce and continuing to communicate and remind people the importance of staying active and managing their stress, especially now, which we'll talk about later. So on the next page, talking a little bit about COVID. There's been a ton of surveys done, and as you can see here, 80% of Americans are afraid to actually leave their home due to COVID. And 68% have expressed that they have insufficient information. So these were some themes, along with recently we also saw that 1 in 3 Americans are drinking alcohol while working. So now we have chemical dependency that might be an additional threat that we have to think about. I can understand why, if you're home with your kids running around and trying to work, that you may want to tip a few before the end of the day. But in reality, these are all risk factors that have now been reintroduced into our home workplaces. and are things that that again, as we focus on the health of the workforce and what we can do to support our workers and employees in these new environments, these are the things that we also have to pay extra attention to. And a lot of them, again, are uncomfortable, even knowing where to go to get tested, and that's a struggle across the country. So on the next page, I mentioned a little bit about the mental health and wellness aspect of what's going on, and now more than ever, stress and anxiety and burnout and all the things we're talking about today are significant threats to the status of your health. And so even though you might be very on top of your health and very engaged and active, the mental health aspect of how that shows up in your lifestyle is a significant driver. And so now more than ever, there's a very high percentage of people, last I saw on a survey, that didn't even know what their mental health benefits were as it relates to their health benefit offerings. And so just the minimum, I can tell you that as we go through today's discussion, the one thing you can do to help your workers stay on top of their mental health and wellness is communicate. Remind people of the benefits they have. Remind them if you have an EAP or social programs available in your communities, that making sure people are aware how to access those, especially now when they're at home more than they are at work and not around people. You have benefits typically that are in your benefit plan that people haven't maybe accessed before and now need to. So reminding them how to access those benefits or who to call in their HR department if they have any questions. And so this is a significant area that we are seeing across the country as it relates to that burnout effect now being compounded by COVID. So there's a question, when you think about what percentage of the overall health of a worker is influenced by his or her environment, just think to yourself how you might answer that. So again, we think a lot about physical health and others, but what percent of an individual's environment actually drives a lot of their health status? So on the next page, there's your answers. So see how many of you got close to 40%, which is the right number. You may have heard of social determinants of health, and that's a huge area of focus right now, that your zip code is a better predictor of your health than your genetic code. And so people are realizing that no matter how we support people when they are at work or working, that in fact, when they go home, that those are the risk factors that are most affecting their status in their health. And so we actually believe it's social drivers, not social determinants. We don't think your zip code is actually going to determine your health, but it can drive riskier health outcomes. And so when you think of the socioeconomic factors, that's that environment, that's the wage they earn, and that's a lot of the access to healthcare, and just being safe in their environments and walking around safely. So thinking of another aspect that's been introduced as we think about, especially when people are working from home, and if the areas they're living in are potentially deprived areas, we want to think about that and understand that. And if you do know where your workforces reside, understanding if those areas are deprived in any way, that thinking of how you can channel your energy, volunteer work, communication, and support makes a big difference. Again, with this COVID risk that's over the top of our communities right now, the communities that are being hit the hardest are communities that are deprived in areas of economic or social, and some of the things you see here on those factors. That when those things are at the lowest, when you put COVID on top of that, they're the ones that are most vulnerable. And so it's real important for us to start thinking about and just asking the question, what percent of our people might be living in these areas? What am I doing to support them and communicate and help them make sure that they're on top of their health and know how to get help? So on the next page, this connection, what's been another area of focus for me. I not only am overseeing the Workforce Health Consulting Group, but I oversee the Kaiser Permanente on the Job, which is our workers' comp network and occupational health and safety services. And when I got close to that, I've been doing that about 8 years. There were the same issues were starting to affect increased disability cost in workers' comp. So the thing I mentioned earlier around chronic conditions and the things that are affecting the increase in demand in our healthcare system are the same things that are driving increased losses for disability in workers' comp. And this was a study recently done where 1 out of 4 people filed a disability claim. And of those people filing a disability claim, I think on average, they were 2.5 or 3 chronic conditions within that disability filing. And they consumed half of the all dollars that were available. So that's workers' comp, disability, and benefit dollars. And so you can see this compounding effect that as we think about helping our workers stay engaged in their health and their health care and their family members, there's a real economic reason behind that if we don't help manage this risk and hold or reduce those demands, the healthcare system just runs out of economic wherewithal to fund these risks. So just letting you know the connection between, as we think about health, not only does it affect the demand in our healthcare system and sort of in that healthcare health plan space, but as you move across as an employer, as you look at your other coverages, that same burden shows up everywhere, including their ability to perform their job, which hurts your productivity. So again, just trying to make correlations here. So on the next slide, the other reality was a significant part, second to your zip code being a good predictor of your health risks, is your behavior, lifestyle and behavior. And so obviously there are now connections between smokers having more injuries. I don't know if it's because they go out now, have to have breaks outside and trip and fall or what have you, but smokers have more rates of injuries. If you are a diabetic, your medical costs are higher when you are injured. So you can see some of the compounding factors that, again, these are the same things that if you blinded this and put hospitalizations within the COVID time period, you'll see that most of them smokers, over unhealthy weight and chronic conditions like diabetes. So these factors are driving significant risks as we look at across all of our communities. So again, just understanding how our workers and our employees are they on top of their health? Do they know how to access the healthcare from home? Now more than ever, Kaiser Permanente, we were about 15% of our members were accessing our healthcare system through telemedicine, through our televideo and virtual care. Because of COVID, obviously people were at home. Over 90% of our visits now are telehealth based. And so our engagements are now, people are staying home, obviously, calling their physician, having video visits and telehealth. If you are not aware of just how to do that within any of your healthcare systems that you're offering to your employees, really important for people to know how to stay connected so that they don't avoid risks that they may be feeling or managing due to having to stay at home and not being able to feel comfortable going out. So these are some of those risk factors to think about. How would you support workers at home right now who are vulnerable to make sure that they're staying on top of their risk factors and staying connected to their healthcare system? So on the next slide, now we get into, so these were the areas that were really affecting the healthcare costs and the demand on the healthcare system. One of the connections that we've been making over the years, and you heard me describe it with Kaiser Permanente being part of we evolved out of the need to protect our own business, that these are our customer values that if you were to, if I were to ask you as an employer, how do you define value? You would probably have some conversation around, if you want to help me, you can help me improve my business performance. And if you want to help me, you can help be more efficient and effective. You can help me improve my asset. My number one asset is my employees. You can help me reduce risk. And so as we thought about our role in our communities, we want to make sure that we're taking what we know about population health that you heard me describe earlier, that is affecting business performance, inefficiencies as it relates to our workforces out there, How can we protect our workers and have them be able to show up to work to earn a wage? And how can we help reduce the risk in our own businesses, but also with our employees? And so the same things that drive customer value are also driving are linked to health risks as well. So on the next page, what we also did was surveyed CFOs and said, of your healthcare spend, how much of this is connected to your ability to align it with your business performance? So some of the things I described earlier around how can you describe to me the benefits you provide your workers as it relates to healthcare and the connection to business performance. So do you know that by keeping someone healthier, they're less likely to be away from work and perform their job better? Do you measure that? Are you supporting that in your business discussions? Is it not, are you taking it out of the HR office or desk and moving it into the boardroom or the business table where you're talking about your business objectives? And especially now when people are, again, stressed out, working from home in a completely different environment. There was a recent study done, and we're in the middle of it. Zoom exhaustion is a whole new threat out there in the marketplace. And now Dr. Hickman, a PhD, is starting to publish the tips that now we have to think about as we're doing so many Zoom meetings. And this is a new stress level, is to think about looking at a computer screen all day and having community meetings, with our workers. And you have to sort of remind people to orchestrate those breaks, getting up out of your chair, recognizing you have to kind of even introduce people on the screen so that everybody knows that they're on camera and that, we're in this together. And so the same things you would normally do, maybe even in a room when we were together in conference rooms or meeting rooms talking, we have to remind ourselves how to do that in a virtual environment. And people are being, again, burned out through this new approach to having to communicate. And this is something we've not really prepared our workforces for. And so reminding yourselves that when you are connecting with your workers in this virtual environment, just thinking about how to do it in a way that reminds us to take a break after 45 or 50 minutes, to move around, to go outside, to come back in, and to continue to remind ourselves to refresh our energy before we sit in front of a computer and press go. So on the next page, really the other area of workers' comp, that these same this focus on health, and as it relates to not being just an employee benefit decision anymore, but a human capital management, a focus on keeping people productive. People need to and want to earn a wage, but if they're unable to work due to a health condition that could have been avoided, that's something that is concerning. And so we do want to help our communities and our workers and family members stay on top of their health so they can earn that wage, so that they can be contributing citizens and provide for their family. And so absence management is another one that's become an increase. I've noticed in talking to a lot of customers, the number one thing that's starting to go on the rise is absences due to illnesses specifically. And now it's expected that it's almost 10% of your payroll is attributed to illness-related absences. So before you could be absent for a number of reasons, but now people being absent due to a health condition or something that could have been avoided if they had their flu shot, and other things that are now especially going to be so important, it's starting to chew up more and more of the cost. And so again, what drives absence management are risk factors that could be lowered if we think about how we communicate and support our workers differently, and not just consider it an HR benefit function. So on the next page, this is also just a correlation here on the workers' comp. When I do lean over the fence and talk to the risk manager departments over there, and not just the HR people, but the risk managers, this whole health approach, they're realizing the dependency on health and well-being now in as you saw earlier, on disability and workers' comp. They're seeing, if those of you that have been close to the workers' comp market, it's a very disintegrated delivery. It is not like the health benefit marketplace where it's evolved to the point of having integrated evidence-based approaches like Kaiser Permanente. And a lot of, when you think about accessing the healthcare system due to an injury, it's very disintegrated, and you have to get approvals and referrals, and it's now the industry is realizing that they have to find a way to integrate these resources better to manage the worker as it relates to an injury. So that's going to be, they're a few years behind us as it relates to the health plan migration, but these are going to be important factors to think about as you pick partners who can demonstrate integration, because it will lower costs and risk as well. So in the next couple of slides here, this is, so when we talk about everything that's led up to right now, you can see that for you can put your name at the top. In order for you to maximize business performance and be efficient at your business operations, you've probably put together a set of benefit offerings, that support your workers. And the most important piece in the center there, those are the 5 elements of well-being. We spend a lot of time talking about physical, but now we know that there's financial pressures on people that affects your health status. Having a sense of purpose and a reason to contribute in life, that is a motivating factor and keeps your energy in the right place. Your contribution to your community is also a motivator, and we talked about some kind of those social factors. So these are the things that now are becoming very important around a worker. And so how these programs work together in a way that supports the health and well-being of your worker will reduce the risk associated with burnout and stress. When these programs get separated and sort of just left on the shelf and not managed in a way that these things should be working together to support the health and well-being of your worker, when the worker recognizes that and you communicate that that's why you offer benefits to people, is to protect their health and well-being so that they can, perform their role in life, that's the thing that we have to start thinking about, how these are all working together. So for Kaiser Permanente, we have information in the health benefits space that might be able to help you manage your disability and workers' comp risk. And so we have to sort of think about what is it we all know, and what do you ask of us in your benefit offerings that can help manage the health and well-being of your worker. And so it's, instead of it being a bunch of siloed conversations, thinking of it this way, that we have to find ways to integrate the discussion around protecting the health of our workers so that burnout doesn't drive risk in a way that affects our communities is just a new way of thinking, and I encourage you to approach it that way. The last couple of slides here are again, this used to be a water cooler with people standing around the water cooler. Now I have to put a Zoom picture up there because this is when we have a meeting, this is what it looks like typically. And so using that now, that virtual environment to have that interaction, that discussion as it relates to protecting the health and well-being, what's driving people's emotional risk and others, just using that virtual workplace to figure out ways to have safe conversations with people and finding ways to communicate, because we can't just ignore it just because we aren't physically in the office anymore. So this definition of the workplace, now we have to transfer conversations there to help people stay connected and stay on top of their emotional health and physical health. So the next slide is, we can go to the next one. I'll wrap up here with, so the business, we talked a lot about the business performance, and when I mentioned that how health shows up, this gives you some ideas about, your absenteeism. Presenteeism is being able to show up to work and perform your job. So presenteeism, if it's affected negatively, means you show up to work, but you're not able to do your job because you're affected by a health condition. And recruitment, if the culture of your workforce is that when I work in this organization, they not only are helping me and I'm helping them perform my role and my job and my contribution to the business performance, but they're also looking out for me, and I'm feeling that, and I feel like I'm protected. People will trade off an environment, a healthy culture, more than getting paid more. It's been proven many times that money is not the primary driver, that having a culture to work in where you feel safe and protected and recognized in the workplace is a big plus for people. And so don't underestimate the power of your communication around talking to your workers, including them. One of the biggest things you can do is to begin to survey and ask your employees questions about some of these areas to see what is driving their concern. They'll tell you what they're most concerned about, especially today. and doing those surveys and asking them, you know, how can I help you during these tough times right now? And are there things I could be doing to help you get through this? Great time to just involve your workers. They'll tell you. And so don't underestimate how they want to contribute and how they will recognize you for including them in this problem that we're all trying to manage going forward. So the next one you could probably skip over. I think I've hit on that good. So kind of in wrapping up here, and then we'll land with some resources that you can see on our website, and I'm sure that we'll make available to you through this organization. Is ultimately you're trying to achieve what you're trying to achieve as a business. In order to do that, you need, and everybody understands, a high-performing culture and supporting our workers. Now, what's more important now more than ever is to make sure that you're aware or managing or understanding better what the culture of your health and well-being of your workforce is. How can you support it? What benefits do you have that contributes to that? Communicating to people the importance of focusing on health and well-being. And just there's some very simple things you can do to make sure that you're not skipping over just training people on how to do their job, but actually helping them manage their overall health and well-being. And when you do that really well, if you click on through here, you'll really begin to identify these are the areas that you want to make sure you're addressing. So, you know, the focus on prevention and health promotion. You get to technology now more than ever, being able to know if telehealth is available within your program. Like Kaiser Permanente, it's integrated in our program. So the flip for us to go to a virtual healthcare system was really easy. But again, having people know that that's available. And especially now, culturally responsive care. How are we connecting with different communities in ways that are meeting them where they are? And then your role as an employer, having that leadership discussion, committing to this discussion, looking at your policies and environment. So many people were caught off guard due to COVID because they didn't have environment and policies that were ready for this pivot. Working from home policies, getting people computers, laptops to take home if you were in the office, working from home, but you work out in the field, but yet you needed to check in, and now there's no place to check in. So the whole system needed to be recalculated when something like this hit. So thinking of your policies and environment in support of these kind of changes going on and going forward are really important. And then, of course, employee motivation is around including them in this process, because they will be motivated and they will help you support them and us as a community as it relates to their health. So in the next, so here are some resources, and I will make this presentation available to you. You can go on the kp.org/workforce health section of our website. You can, if you click on to the next page, we've invested, one of the things we spent some time on was a lot of our customers were saying, if I have to bring my workforce back to the workplace, how do I do that? And so we put together a very comprehensive, I mean, it's over 90 pages, and you can look at chapter by chapter how to think about bringing your workforce back safely and healthy. And some of the things that you can do and you should focus on, links to third-party resources and the CDC and others. But this is a chapter-by-chapter playbook to help our customers think about bringing their workforce back safely. And so I encourage you to look at that on the website. It gets refreshed every 2 or 3 weeks as things change. And so it's a very dynamic playbook and tool to help all of us think about what does it look like to bring our workers back into the workplace when we're ready to do so. And so I think maybe there might be another slide on this, but yeah. So this is the different components in the workbook itself. And you heard me talk a lot about the mental health and well-being. Now more than ever, it's just a critical piece. And then we talked about social drivers. So so this is what we can help you with and share what we've learned, and we'll get through this together. So thank you.
Thank you so much. That was such valuable information. We do have some questions, if you don't mind answering a few for us. So I have them all sticky here. You know, This is a quick one. Do you believe that telehealth is here to stay, or will it again go away past COVID? And if it's here to stay, how do you see it being integrated within, I'm adding to the question, how do you see it being integrated within what we've done so far? I know I have a wellness check through my wellness program at work, and it's now over the computer. You know, they can't take my blood pressure, do my labs and things like that. So like, really, where's that fine balance if it is here to stay?
Yeah. Two answers to that. One is the short answer is it's here to stay. And I think it's good. People were reluctant. We've had the virtual care ability for years, and we're encouraging our members to access it. It's more efficient from work or home, wherever you are. You can hold up your phone and have a video chat with any physician at Kaiser Permanente. So we've been, wired and ready for this for years, yet people were always reluctant because historically they get in their car, drive to the doctor and go in and see. And there's also a social connection and a way that we like that part. We want to see eye to eye. I want to look at that doctor or that nurse, and I want to read them as they're reading me. And so the ability, what we've heard from both our physicians and members is that now with over 90% of our engagements on the telehealth side now and in this virtual space, people are saying, hey, it's not so bad. And this combination, as you mentioned, I do think there's a fair amount of medical devices that are now being deployed to the home. And so you can take blood pressure now and it'll be translated to the doctor real time. So I think that some of those devices have not been as widely used. And I think that will rise up so that, I've seen it where you can get on, like it or not, you can get on a scale and it registers right into the doctor's medical record, your blood pressure, things like that. So temperature, can all be done remotely now. So I think those services are going to go up, but I do believe that there's going to be a balance of, and we're telling our members this, email or call us or video chat first before you come in, just for obvious risk reasons. We don't want you in if we're seeing patients that are infected. And so that's generating a discussion of, no, you can take care of this. I have your medical record in front of me. I know what this is. Do what we've always done. I'll have a prescription ready either at the pharmacy or it can be mail ordered to you. So I think all of those services are just going to get managed by that physician. And the only downside of telehealth, as I see it on the vendor side, is with Kaiser Permanente, it's integrated into the health record. So the person you're talking to is your doctor, and they have your medical history. In the telehealth services that are coming online as vendors out there, they don't have your medical history. So it'll be really important if you have vendors out there that you're utilizing and they do not have your medical history, that your worker has to know that they have to sort of communicate what's going on in a broader way so that they don't put themselves at risk and somebody who doesn't know them.
Yeah. So there's been a decline in the number of people, going in for the surgeries that they need. There's actually, there's actually a decline of people going into the hospital when they really need it most. And I can only imagine how much that affects your own stress, and burnout. And, for the towards the topic that we're talking about, like if you really need something to, you really need to, go in for this elective surgery or whatever, just to make yourself feel better. What advice would you give to those individuals, those patients, and should they go in for these surgeries? Should they not? I've heard that the hospitals are cleaner than they've ever been before, so it's actually safer than it was before. So should they just wait and continue dealing with that stress, or should they go ahead and take care of themselves?
I've heard our physicians answer that exact question, and they are first of all encouraging you to engage with your primary care, whoever your physician is that's managing that risk, elective surgery or not. That physician will determine if it's appropriate to wait, that there's no more risk in waiting, and so let's just reduce the risk of you potentially being exposed, and there's no harm in waiting 3 months, and we'll reschedule it then. I've heard physicians say, let us manage it. I've also heard them say, don't be afraid to come into these medical facilities. What you described is true. There are very strict protocols for all of the hospitals and medical groups out there. We do have medical groups that have closed. that we felt could not be protected, and we've created access points and other ways to deal with that. But the medical system will manage itself. If we feel like there's a risky area and we can't get our physicians there and we want to deploy them somewhere else, we will take care of access and moving it around. Your job as an employee is to stay connected to your healthcare system. Be inquisitive. Ask if there's should I come in or not? If you should, our physicians are saying it's okay. I mean, think of maternity right now, right? You can't put that off, so you have to come in. And our physicians, I've talked to a number of people who have recently delivered, and other than you can't have your husband and your mom and your mother-in-law and your father-in-law, they're with you, or your sisters and brothers. It's really you and your husband or partner. That is, they've had to scale that down, but it's very safe, and we shouldn't shy away from that. If you need to access the healthcare system, you need to talk to your doctor and access it.
So with that said, in the business community, we work with a lot of disadvantaged businesses, those that are in distressed areas, and a lot of their, they may or may not offer a healthcare system or an option for their employees to the extent where, an employee can just go in for when they need a checkup or, do everything that they want. If I'm an employee and I don't have access to something, how do I motivate myself, or not even motivate myself? I may be completely motivated, but where can I go to get the support I need for, maybe some stress related issues or burnout and fatigue? What can I do?
And each community is different. And I would say that's one of the things we all could do better. We have programs that we're partnering with called Thrive. We're calling them Thrive Local, and it's working with the local community-based programs that are free to a lot of the public out there, or extremely low cost. And those resources are out there, but a lot of people don't know how to access them. So if you were a Kaiser member and you come in and you need social services in some way, we will refer you, or we're working towards where to send you so that you can take care of another need that you may be having separate from the healthcare side. Your point around not having a benefit plan to even access, there are still community-based programs that you should be contacting and reaching. And the one thing we could do to help our workers is to understand what those community-based programs are, and get those out to our employees who may not have a benefit plan. Of course, you have ACA and Medicaid, and there's other programs out there that you should be seeking to see if subsidized care is available to them due to the government programs, because that a lot of time is the answer, is that you can get, a low wage worker can get access to healthcare through a sponsored government program. So we want to make sure they know how to do that, but also just knowing where to call for some of these basic helplines and things like that, where they can reach out to people. I think it's important to remind people who and how to do that. So
yeah, I think it's important to mention in the Pikes Peak region, 211 is a great number to call when you really need some help. And United Way is a great organization locally that can help individuals and people find the resources they need. So just wanted to make sure that I mentioned that. I'm getting a couple questions here on our Facebook feed saying, what recommendations do you have for employees to help them stay motivated? And let me precede that, add on to that with saying, I have an amazing wellness plan through El Paso County that I get. But my question is, when I had access to gyms and all this stuff, but I'm not going to the gym. I'm sitting at home at my desk. I put a little bicycle thing under my desk, but how do we stay motivated? Like, what are to be healthy, and I actually had an additional question here is, what are a few things we can do to stay healthy? Like just some takeaways for our business owners.
Yeah. So I think in our playbook, I think we have a chapter on sort of focusing on that. So I would definitely download the playbook and look for those types of tips in there. And so what we have to do is we have to actually, and I know I had to actually do this, when I started working from home, weeks went by where I was not moving like I used to. I had a stand-up desk at work. You'd walk outside, you would be moving around more, and I found myself very sedentary, and it snuck up on me. And so I think we do have to remind our workers of and just come up, and there's a plethora of them out there if you Google them and everything else, and check our playbook, is coming up with 5 or 6 things that you would want to remind your workers to, like I said, taking time away from the computer and going outside, or it's kind of hard because I feel even more restricted working from home because I'm in my office and I am not leaving because my home is out there and my office is now right here, and I'm not walking up and down hallways and I'm not moving around the building. I mean, this is it. It's my little cave. And so reminding people to how do you have to leave that space, and you have to clear your head, and if you can't go to the gym, then you have to figure out, okay, what exercises can I do from home? And we have now a number of apps that we've put on our website for our members that they virtually can practice mental health exercises and motivation exercises for the mind. And there's also lots of exercises you can look at. I know even Xfinity or Comcast, some of the cable channels have opened up ways to stretch, and so you sort of have to re-engineer it back into your life, because it was automatic for a lot of us when we were at the workplace. Some of us had gyms downstairs, some of us had them across the street. Now I've got to figure out, what does physical activity look like in my home space? And you actually have to consciously make that decision. So encouraging your workers to do that, reminding them these 5 things are really important: moving more, managing your mental health, eating. That's the other thing, I'm cooking all my own food mostly now. And I used to walk across the street and I could get, Vietnamese food and stir fry and chicken, grilled. I mean, I could move around the cultural diversity of our communities in my downtown. Now I'm having to think all that up. And so the importance of nutrition is also a big piece too. So.
Yeah, I think the cooking at home makes us think twice about what we're eating, which is really, which is a really nice thing.
Comfort food is pretty nice.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you brought up the free apps that are out there. I know on our, we don't even have cable, but I know on our live stream, we're connected to all these different apps now. There's a lot of free, for our business owners who don't have a membership anywhere, there are a lot of free opportunities for yoga and Zumba, and I found them. Have I done them yet? I'm not sure, but I'm going to try after this conversation. But there's a lot of free apps. I know our local YMCA has YMCA 360, where there's a lot online for free right now too. So definitely take advantage of those. We have a couple more questions here. This one has a lot within it. What do you suggest for individuals, small business owners, I'm going to add, to mentally prepare themselves in case there's a second wave of COVID-19? So we've already seen 25 states or whatever have in the red zone again. Yep. We're already looking at possibly our regulations here to be, or our variances maybe to be put on hold for a couple of weeks until our numbers come back down in Colorado. Our business owners are already stressed out by the reopening guidelines and possibly the ratcheting back. I guess how do you mentally prepare for something like that? What are some things that someone can do to just, we just have to take it day by day, and there's no real great answer for this, but what do you suggest?
Yeah, I would say, I would take the opportunity. I hear physicians describe this as, not surges, but actual just waves, and there's not going to be one, right? That we're going to be in this because the way our populations have managed these kinds of risks for many years is that the illness does sort of work its way through the population, and we build up antibodies or vaccines and other things, and we move on. And so we don't have vaccines yet. That it hasn't moved through the population in a way that, and so we're going to get these subtle waves. And I do think that each of us need to from where you sit, what it felt like the first time around and what you had to scramble to do, right? this time around, that's what I would do is I would focus on, okay, I have to communicate more to my team saying, if there's another wave coming, when do you think, how long am I going to be at home now? Because a lot of us were day to day, week to week. And I was constantly going, when am I going back? Or am I going back? And until my employer said, okay, December 31st for sure, we're not coming back, then I could sort of adjust. And so I would think half of your effort should be communicating with your teams and workers and leaders in a way that reminding people that, okay, remember the first time around we were caught off guard, communication, we didn't have our communication linked up. This thing around being clear about if our work has changed. I know businesses that have moved from one set of services to another because of COVID. And so if your business has changed, making sure that you are reinforcing that and making sure that people understand that we have pivoted as an organization. So anything that's changed in your business because of COVID that you see in the near term, I would also make sure to remind people that this is our business and purpose as a company, and just focus on your culture. And I mean, I know a couple of workers who have quit their jobs because they feel unsafe and they don't feel like their employer is taking care of their safety. So this thing around protecting the safety of our workers, even from home, their mental health, things like that, just putting that really high on your list will help people sort of maintain this level of stress and anxiety, which will creep back up again as we go through these waves. So we have to make sure to put that on the top of our list to remind people that we'll get through this. And here are the things you can do to manage your stress, in the meantime, and what I'm doing to help you. Yeah.
I think the mention of culture is so important. I know culture is what's going to keep your employees moving forward, the benefits you provide. I think that's a good lead into our final question that I have here is, what can employers do to support their employees' mental health during the pandemic? I know you went through a few things, but maybe provide, what's a really great example you've seen? I know at our office, we all handle things very differently. BBB and the SBDC, we're all different people. Our stress levels are different, right? Yeah. So just providing a day off really helped a couple people. Like they asked for a day off and you're like, yeah, take a day off, take a real mental health day, right? And work on the garden instead of thinking about, between the BBB and SBDC, we hear a lot of devastating stories, and it's stressful for us too, because we want to do our best. So maybe take a day off. What are some really good examples you've seen that others could maybe implement?
Well, that is the first thing, is that, literally reminding people, because I found myself, again, just because of the nature of I could be on calls from 7 a.m. till 7 p.m. And I noticed before in my day, I would be driving. That's downtime. I could listen to music or do whatever. I would be sitting on a plane maybe and being able to relax or read a book or take care, So all of those things have been engineered out of my day. And these were things that kept me in balance mentally as well. And so I do think that, again, like, for example, one of the things we encourage as a department in our department was Friday afternoons are blackout day. Don't book any meetings on Friday afternoons so that people can just wind down their week and enjoy their weekend, because that recharge period, you don't want to go slamming into the weekend, stressed out and anxiety ridden. And then by about Sunday at 4 o'clock, you're feeling better. And then you go right back to work. So things like that, where literally you have to block out, and you could do that on Wednesday afternoon. It doesn't have to be Fridays. I like Fridays because I'm literally sort of winding down. And when I close my computer, at 5 o'clock, I'm done. And I've separated my work from my home, and I can leave my cave and go outside. And so I think that's probably at least over half to 60% of our help right now could be on that mental health. There are, I know in meetings and things like that, finding time to talk about it and what people are feeling. That, we start meetings, you don't have to tell me why, but we just go around the room or around the screen now and say, how are you feeling today? And just giving people a chance and people are very honest about what's going on. And especially working parents, and having to now be the teacher as well. And they just say, I'm really struggling. And then to be able to say, is there anything we can do to help you with that? And actually the team can participate in this activity. It doesn't always have to be the owner or the manager. You know, a lot of times we can help each other sometimes. One person, you know, I know when this person was really struggling, this one said, hey, this is what I've done to help with that. And you may want to try these, you know, so sometimes the help comes peer to peer, not necessarily, you know, through leadership. So I would talk about it, and I would encourage that, creating the space so that people know. It's before, you used to be, if you're not at your desk, whatever that looked like, you know, you were criticized, right? You came back from lunch late, you were criticized. We got to give people space now to recapture a little bit of their mental health. And that means take that hour off, take that half day off, reward them with that. Yeah. You know, you could actually say, you've done great work in this, what we're doing challenge right now. Why don't you take Monday off, you know, and start using that time downtime right now is probably more important than anything else.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I know it's hard for some of our small business owners when there's only a couple people working with them, that you can't really give a lot of time off. But I think there's a lot of interesting ways you can and cover for one another, maybe during a slower time during the day, or honestly, our economy, we see a lot picking back up, which is really exciting. But you know, I really appreciate all your time, Tom, and your time, you know, and Kaiser Permanente's support of today's conversation. We could probably talk about this for another few hours at the very least, because it's really, there's just a lot of talk about stress and burnout, mental wellness. There's, you know, discussions about addiction right now, or being too sedentary. I mean, there's just so much we could talk about. And I think this conversation will definitely last for a long time. Kaiser Permanente is a partner of the Better Business Bureau and the SBDC through Small Business Week. And I know it's been working on wellness programs with the Better Business Bureau. So we'll be supporting that from the SBDC side forever, if we can. But I want to say thank you for your time today. We are towards the end of our time, and I have some closing statements, but thank you again. As we get other questions, we'll be sharing them with you. Right. And maybe there's a way we can, if anyone has questions, just contact the BBB and the SBDC, and we will get back to you for sure. So in closing, what I wanted to say was just a deepest thanks again to Kaiser Permanente, all of our sponsors for the day, 1 Million Cups, Catalyst Campus for Technology and Innovation, our host, 3E's Comedy Club. How fun was that at 3E's with a comedian today? Laughter seriously is the best medicine. He had some really good home jokes as well. And so I really appreciated that. So then later today, before you all take off on Facebook or our live feed, office hours with the bankers coming up next at 1 o'clock with our presenting sponsor, U.S. Bank. And, you know, those SBA initiatives, programs right now are so important that they've helped so many of our local businesses be resilient with financing. So come with your questions for PPP loan forgiveness, FBA initiatives such as the Main Street Lending Program and others that are maybe even coming down the pipeline. You'll get about 15 minutes of an overview from the experts at U.S. Bank, and then have time to ask plenty of questions up through 2 o'clock. And then tomorrow, we're focusing on minority-owned businesses, supporting minority-owned businesses from 9 to 11 o'clock. Again, a live stream right here on Facebook and through the Pikes Peak SBDC website. This is a great opportunity to listen in and hear about how minority businesses are being affected right now with what's going on in our region and throughout the nation and throughout the world. And in addition, how can we support those minority-owned businesses, and what does minority-owned business mean? And then finally, if you're a minority-owned business, how can you open up the doors for more opportunities? And in advance, would like to thank the Women's Chamber of Commerce, Black Chamber of Commerce, and Hispanic Concilio for supporting us and getting the word out for that event. So that's all happening tomorrow. In closing today, we want to say thank you for celebrating small business with us this week. And in addition, we're going to queue up a final video here from Kaiser Permanente talking about their programs and how you can get involved with them. Thank you so much for joining.
Why do I love being a doctor at Kaiser Permanente?
I get to play a part in keeping the Colorado community healthy.
My only job is to take great care of my patients. I'm empowered to do what's right for you.
Our digital records mean your medical history is in one place, so I can give you great health care.
Your primary care doctor, your specialist, we all work together as one team.
I don't just work here, I'm a patient too. I wouldn't trust my family's health care to anyone else.